Hello, Brother Stuffy Ramming for our nerds. Welcome to my review of the Easter special, Doctor Who 2022, Legend of the Sea Devils. There may be some minor spoilers ahead, so if you don't think spoiled, turn off now. So we start the story off with a Madame Ching, who, I think that's how you pronounce her name, apologies if it's not, trying to track down a treasure. And she finds herself in a Chinese little fishing village, and in doing so leads to a statue which she believes has the treasure. So she promptly decides to break the statue, despite the warnings of some of her father and his son, to not break said statue, and in doing so unleashes a sea devil. And the sea devil promptly proceeds to massacre the entire village. The Doctor turns up just in time to encounter said sea devil, and the story basically goes on where we follow them trying to find this treasure, what is the treasure, and Doctor having to defeat obviously this sea devil who's got a magic pirate ship as well, which is kind of cool. The episode, if I'm brutally honest, isn't very good at all. Its major issues is the pacing. It is so rapidly paced. There are so many gaps in the story that occur. There are whole segments where it feels like a whole set of scenes has been cut out and removed. I describe to my sister as it feels like a dream. You know, when you're having a dream and something's going on in your dream, and then also you jump like 6 scenes later, and you've missed all the bits of a dream. Like, oh well, we were going to go in the car, and then all of a sudden we're here, and that's what this episode feels like. There's whole bits where like the Doctor's trapped in this underground in this ship with someone who's trapped in like this sort of magical forceful box. Next thing you know, they're swinging onto a boat. All the stuff in between this hasn't happened. The whole pacing is way too fast. It feels like this wants to be, I'm going to guess, they were planning for it to be an hour-long episode, maybe an hour and 10, and got told the last minute, oh, actually, you've only got 50 minutes to fit it in. That's what I'm assuming, because otherwise it feels, if it's not that, it's a very poor script. And the editing in general is also pretty poor. The scene where the Sea Devil attacks the village is, or actually, nearly all the action scenes are pretty poor. It's just flash, cut. It's like watching a Jason Bourne film. It's just, you can't follow the action. You can't really see what's going on. It's really, really poor. So the storyline plot just feels, because it's rapidly moving along so quickly, you can't really get into the plot. Well, now they're doing this, now they're doing that. And the plot itself is actually fairly straightforward and very simple. You know, there's nothing really too shocking about it, but this whole pacing up feels bad. And to then caveat this, what they then do is they have these little moments of sort of like slowness when they do them, but they're completely irrelevant to the whole story. The main thing is that they literally spend the last sort of 5 to 10 minutes of the episode where they're basically the guys are catching up on their various sort of like, you know, relationships. Dan's calling Di, and Doctor and Yaz are having a moment, and we'll discuss that later. And it just doesn't fit right. It just like feels so slow compared to where that's the episode. It feels like they decide to keep, well, we must keep that bit in. But all the actual, like, the meat episode, oh, we'll cut that right down. We'll trim it right down. So won't just trim the fat off, we'll trim the nice bits off as well. And you end up with just sort of a okay-ish bit and overall. So I have to say it's a pretty poor episode. I was actually, I got to the end of it, I actually turned to I said, well, that was for want of a word, crap. So yeah, I was very disappointed in the episode. I thought it was fairly poor. I mean, we've had this issue in the past, but this one felt particularly bad. I mean, we've had some episodes in the past where it's been rapidly paced and so forth, and you just can't keep up. And this is another further. So perhaps Chris Chibnall should have written, you know, perhaps trimmed his script down a bit or thought about it more. Perhaps, as I suspect, it was meant to be an hour long, and they got told, oh, you got 15 minutes, had to lose 10 minutes of footage. And that's a lot to lose, actually, from an episode. When you've got, say, an hour, when you've recorded for something else, and they've got to lose 10, that's actually hard to do. And perhaps that's what it was written for. So, yeah, it feels quite bad. The overall sort of effects, I mean, due to COVID, they couldn't obviously film it in China, so they had to film it, I think it was filmed up in Cardiff, on the base. And you can tell, like, the Chinese village looks very sort of like traditional old English, like sort of Cornish style, or presumably Welsh townhouses. It looks very, you can tell it's not been filmed abroad, but you know, they had to do with what they had. So there's that. The Sea Devils themselves, they've took an improvement. They've got rid of the string vest, which is an improvement. I mean, it's been decades since we last seen Sea Devils. I think the last Sea Devil serials was the one with Peter Davison, Fury from the Deep, I think it was. I can't remember if that was the name of it. They're back and they look a lot better. They've had a bit of a CGI pass, although the main guy has had all the work done on him. All the others, for some reason, they decided to have all their mouths gaping open, so all Sea Devils are just sat there like this. And they all look just gormless. They have rubber man in suit problem. They just look. They don't look great. They don't look very good, and they could have done with a. This is why most of the better enemies Doctor Who wear helmets, because you can't see the expression. And it's actually true of most sci-fi. Put your opponent's army in helmets, and then you don't have to worry about them looking a bit enormous. Put them at the aliens, it just doesn't look right otherwise. But this look better. This didn't come with the string vests. I know other things sort of like jump out at you, like this showing she's apparently been sailing her ship by herself out of crew. I mean, this isn't Sea of Thieves. You can't. A boat that big, you can't sail without a crew. You need some people. You can't just. It's just not possible. And she's sailing it around by herself. It just doesn't make sense. There's so many things that just, as soon as you sort of think about it, just don't make any logical sense. And Doctor Who's never been heavy on the super logic, but just have a little bit of an explanation. I know that they explain where her crew were, but it just doesn't work. And yeah, it's just poor overall. I mean, there's another bit right at the start where Doctor and Yaz, and then they come across Sea Devil. He goes to attack her, and she shouts now, and all of a sudden they've apparently set this trap up, which has come out of nowhere. This net just picks up. Where'd that come from? It's just so badly put together and edited. And the final thing to talk about is the Yaz and Doctor ongoing relationship situation. So, for three series we had now, Doctor and Yaz, there's been no foreshadowing of this. There's been no build up to it and so forth. Apart from that, Daz cares Doctor, and it's all built up a little bit in the last season, but not really to the same extent. And it's revealing either the Doctor Yaz really likes Doctor, loves Doctor basically, and they've now sort of put a bit more of those bits in. But whereas like when the Doctor and Rose, which I didn't like Doctor and romance doesn't go together. It shouldn't, in my opinion, it shouldn't be in there. Doesn't really work. It's never well. The last one they did properly was the Doctor and Rose, and that was built up over time, and you could feel it being built up. That sort of worked. This just feels very much like it's been shoehorned in for these last sort of 3 episodes, and it just doesn't work. It just feels so out of place, and it just feels like the moments they add in there just feel like so random. And just doesn't really time with anything that's gone before. That's my main gripe with it. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't flow. Well, I have lots of problems there. Surprise, small cast of characters. You've got Dr. Dan and Yaz. Dan doesn't really get to do a lot in this episode. He sort of disappears off and sort of in the background most of this episode. Dr. and Yaz get pushed to the front a bit more because he's building their relationship up. We have for a few hours. Madam Chain's played quite well. There's this other guy who I've forgotten his name. I'm sorry. He's one whose father gets killed at the start. At the very end of the episode, he's completely over it. He's completely over the fact that she killed his father. He's fine. He's happy. He doesn't worry. He's going to go off with her. It's fine. It's just all so badly written. All the side characters are just so badly written. The Sea Devil has a sort of a somewhat menacing look to him, but his mates make it look poor. It's just poor across the board. None of the characters really jump out at you and really sort of have a chance to sort of shine. So, not great with the characters either. So, final thoughts. I didn't like this at all. I thought the storyline had somewhat of a plot there that could have been worked with, but the editing was bad, the pacing was off, the subplots put in there didn't work. It was just a mess, an absolute mess. Totally. Has it got anything redeeming about it? The sword was quite cool, that glow blue. That was kind of cool. And the floating ship, who doesn't like a floating sail ship? That's quite cool. But overall, no, it was It was just bad. I'm just thinking, I'm just new things that I've spotted coming up to my head and going, oh yeah, that was nonsense. They just keep popping to my head. I haven't got time to talk through them all. It wasn't good at all, unfortunately. Really disliked it. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please perhaps consider sort of subscribing and liking the video. You can also check us out other things we do on the channel. We do a podcast every fortnight. Our next one is this end of this week. We do a live stream game night every fortnight as well. You can check my channel out at twitch.tv/StephaGram. Next one will be in week Tuesday. We play various games there. You can actually check up our previous games nights. The edited versions are put on our YouTube channel, and usually our video goes up every Monday for that. And occasionally put other videos out there as well. And you can check out the rest of the reviews I've done for this season. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you again in the future.